anytime the Panthers had a chance to make it a game, poor attention to detail and bad goaltending was a big buzzkill on Thursday night.
You're Locked On Panthers, your daily podcast on the Florida Panthers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into this Friday, October 24th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. Thank you for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. I'm Armando Velez from the Hockey News. You can follow me on X at MondoMan12. That is Nich Fairbanks joining me on another edition of Fairbanks Friday. You can follow him on X at Prudentia0. Shout out to the everydayers who come back here and get your daily Florida Panthers fix. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off of your first purchase. You can do that all on Game Time. So the Florida Panthers were back at home after their 5-game road trip, looking to remain perfect at home when they welcomed to the Pittsburgh Penguins to town. And unfortunately, it was 2-goal deficit multiple times as the Panthers, after the first period, were starting to control play, but didn't really control play at all in the first period, only having 5 shots on goal. Mackie Samoskevich gets two assists on the night. Brad Marchand gets 2 goals on the night. And every single time that the Panthers tried to make it a game and get it inch closer, every single time it was the Pittsburgh Penguins in response. Sidney Crosby getting 2 goals on the night, and Tristan Jarry, for a change, had a great game against the Florida Panthers, as the goaltending for the Pittsburgh Penguins, as when we previewed this show, has been actually pretty great this year. And the Pittsburgh Penguins have been getting depth scoring, and 4 out of the 5 goals were from different guys for the Penguins. But Nick, I asked to peek behind the curtain for the people listening, when you came on the feed to come on before we press record, I asked you this one question: are you annoyed of this loss as I am? Because I felt that this was an avoidable one as it can be, because of the fact that the Panthers controlled the play, and even with the Panthers having trailing 1-0 after period 1 and controlling the play after that, it was just constant shooting of the foot over and over again in this game. Oh, you're on mute.
Of course I'm annoyed. I mean, that game was well within reach, and, it's unfortunate that Brad Marchand put the team on his back tonight, and every time there was some semblance of life, Bobrovsky would just suck that energy out. And unfortunately, it was his worst game of the year, and it's actually probably the first game of the year that you can blame on goaltending.
No doubt.
So I would say that I'm glad that there's fight, and that there's people that are still in that room that are willing to not give up. But I still think the team needs to be better. They need to be prepared, and they need to stop making the little mistakes and pay attention, as you said, to detail, because this was a winnable game. And in the past, they would have won these games. But now, with the injuries, and let me back off of that because I don't want to use that as an excuse. They just were winning these games in the past, and now they're finding it hard to actually shut down and take over these games and win them.
Yeah, and I get the whole argument of it's not always about the X's and O's, it's about the Jimmies and Joes, but the X's and O's for the Panthers were pretty great after the first period. I mean, in the first period, I mean, what the Panthers would do: cycle, work it back to the point, block shot right at the blue line. It wasn't even at the mid slot where the Pittsburgh Penguins would get those block shots. It was like immediately once the puck got on their stick. And when the Panthers were trying to generate off the rush, the Pittsburgh Penguins were also getting back on the back check, and also taking away some of those cross ice feeds as well. Their sticks were outstanding in the first period. And then just the fact that the Penguins, most of this game, especially when the Panthers were kept pushing and pushing, kept sitting back in the neutral zone and allowing the play to come to them when the Panthers would go and get the pucks deep and get in on their forecheck. I mean, got to give credit to the Lundell, Marchand, Luosterainen line, and also the fourth line, especially early, for at least allowing to get their forecheck game going and to get their chances. I mean, of the 5 shots in the first period, the Lundell line had 3 of them. Marchand specifically, he finished with 7 shots on the night, and that truly set the tone. And it like you said, Brad Marchand was carrying the Panthers on his back. How many times have we said that this season? So many times. And I've said this: the Panthers can't rely on Brad Marchand. The Panthers can't rely on the power play to do the job. Yeah, 2 power play goals for the Panthers, and you look at it as a wasted performance for Mackie Samoskevich, who 2 primary assists on one on a backdoor pass from him to Brad Marchand on the first power play goal for the Panthers, and then the third one to make it 3-2 Pittsburgh to get the Panthers to another 1 goal deficit. That was the theme of the night. Just the fact that it was also a wasted performance there, and I'm just like, that's the discouraging part, that they work to their system, but they just and you look at 3 goals, that's good enough to win most nights, but just poor attention to detail on the second goal. Third goal by Pittsburgh, and then two goals that Bobrovsky gave up that was head scratching. The first one from Sidney Crosby, where he failed to get set again, and then the fourth one that Dewar scored after the Panthers were on a change, and then it was like a little bit of a check swing, got past them and trickled past the pad.
Yeah. On the first goal, I don't know what Bob. Bob was trying to get set with his stick again. He was going for a stick, and by the time he was turning around and trying to block the shot, because he knew Crosby was going to shoot it, it was already over. So maybe in that instance, kind of like how Bob plays, maybe just leave the stick and just get set and put your body in front. But man, if he would have made a save on that, that would have been better than Jari's on Marchand for sure. So, and then the one that he gave it to Dewar, I mean, that's like as you said, like it's like a bunt, and it gets past the third baseman, and you're like, what just happened? I mean, it literally rolled up his pad, hit it. I think it either hit his blocker or went between him and his blocker, and it just went in. It was a really weird goal, but I guess hockey gods and the way that hockey goes is that, wacky bounces happen. Florida got one last game to win, and Pittsburgh gets this one to, basically seal this one. But, Panthers cannot continue to rely on the second line, which I'm actually going to refer to as the first line, because they're the only ones that are actually doing anything offensively.
Yeah.
And then the fourth line as well, who are generating energy, they're winning puck battles, and they are getting chances. I mean, the fact that Greer has more goals than Sam Bennett right now is a problem. And he needs to figure it out, and he needs to play his game. Stop trying to be what you're not. I understand you're in a position to be the 1C, but play your game. Be you.
And he was basically the 3C at certain points in this game, because they switched the centers from two of the lines. So they switched Sam Bennett and Evan Rodriguez, and immediately after that, Sam Reinhart had a quality opportunity that went off the post, and then Sam Bennett went on that line with Jesper Boquist and Mackie Samoskevich. And to think that line had 3 opportunities and were retrieving pucks, and then after Sam Bennett turned it over at the blue line, they go in transition. He goes for the hit at the blue line, and then a give and go play for the Penguins by Ben Kindle. He goes for the hit on Tommy Novak. He finds the back of the net there. So that's just another deflating goal that the Panthers gave up on the evening. And to think that even after that, after the switching of the centers on the lines, the Panthers went another stretch of 10 plus minutes without giving up a shot. And the one shot that they did have goes in the back of the net. And to think that the Panthers were going on the little bit of that push there, I got excited when it was 3-2 for the Panthers for me, but I stopped getting excited about the back and forth about the Panthers' chances to come back. This isn't the point, the turning point, the moment where we knew the game was lost. But when Brad Marchand scored on that beautiful feed, one-touch feed from Luosterainen, where he pulled Jari out of position, I stopped. I honestly, sure, good for Brad Marchand, 2 goals on the night, but I wasn't excited about a comeback.
I was, because they were carrying the play, and the Panthers can do this to us. They were doing it a few years ago when they would, try to claw back. It's, always that false hope goal. And unfortunately, that was Marchand's second goal of the night. He should have had a third. Lundell should have scored. I think Reinhart missed the net 2 or 3 times. I know Bennett missed the net. So it wasn't for the lack of chances. It's just, Jari played better than Bob. And the Penguins took advantage of their chances. I mean, they put the puck in the back of the net, even though, again, Florida defensively, I mean, take the 5 goals away. Florida defensively, again, when they starve teams like that, that is an amazing thing you can do at the level of the NHL.
No doubt. And yeah, we're not looking at multiple goal comebacks like we saw like in 2018, where Nola Chari got one of the game winners. Ekblad got the other one against the Ducks, one of them against the Bruins or the Senators. I forget which one it was, but it was a long time ago. But yeah, those are the comebacks that got us excited when those would happen. But just the fact that it was just a teeter-totter of just emotions there, I was just like, man, and with how thin this roster already was, that's why I was thinking that way. And the fact that it was midway point, that's why I was thinking, okay, we'll see. I was in a we'll see mode when it finally became 4-3. But we're going to transition to segment number 2, where we're going to discuss our moment when we knew the game was lost, and we're also going to discuss our 3 duds of the game. We're going to discuss all that next here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Rougiette. And let's be real, making excuses doesn't solve anything. We all heard them before. It's just stress. I'm tired. It happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support. That's where Rougiette comes in. Rougiette.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Rougiette makes it to get started. You connect with board-certified doctors 100% online, no awkward waiting rooms, no in-person appointments. The process is fast, simple, and private, and it's all handled by real doctors. It's about confidence, connection, and getting back to the moment that matters. Visit rugiet.com/LockedOnNHL to get 15% off of your first order. That's rugiet.com/LockedOnNHL. Don't forget to use our code LockedOnNHL so that they know we sent you. Rougiette, stop making excuses and start making moves. Also, today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. And hockey season is officially here, and nothing beats being in the arena for those opening games. But let's be real, getting tickets can be a total headache between waiting in queues, surprise fees, and prices that jump right before checkout. It's easy to get frustrated when all you want is to cheer on your team. That's where Game Time comes in, the app that gives fans the advantage. It's your ultimate life hack for scoring amazing NHL tickets fast, easy, and stress-free. Take the guesswork out of buying NHL tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Segment number 2 here on this Friday, October 24th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day here on a Friday. Armando Velez here with Nich Fairbanks here on a Fairbanks Friday. And as the Florida Panthers lose to the Pittsburgh Penguins by a final score of 5-3 at home, now their home losing streak ends. Their PK streak at home, they were 7 for 7 coming into this one, came to an end as they gave up 2 power play goals, both to Sidney Crosby. And now this is the point of the podcast where the Panthers are coming off a loss, and we have to list our 3 duds of the game. So I will start with the third dud of the game. The third dud, although there was still a chance to win, and this isn't ultimately the reason why. The third dud will be the officiating. The penalty on Aaron Ekblad was very, very head scratching when he was going for the check as they were trying to clear the zone. I did not think that was a penalty. That ultimately resulted in a goal. So I'm gonna give the third dud to the officiating on that one. Number 2 dud for me, Sam Bennett. We spoke about the chances. We spoke about the demotion, the switching of the lines. And we saw it with Anton Lundell being placed on power play 1, Mackie Samoskevich there for the Panthers there. And we're starting to see that the proof is in the pudding, that transition that we were anticipating even years ago for Lundell to be second line center, assuming that Barkov was healthy in a regular season, it's coming earlier than we thought when it came to the role that Anton Lundell is playing. And just inexcusable for the turnover, not getting back fast enough, and then going for that check right at the blue line that resulted in the goal. And then number 1, I got to go with Sergei Bobrovsky. Those 2 goals, the first one against Sidney Crosby, and then the Dewar one that was really backbreaking for the Panthers there. So those are my 3 duds of the game. How about you?
Number 3, I'm going to go with Carter Verhaeghe. He did score that wacky goal, the other night against Boston, but I just feel, again, he's struggling this season. He's not shooting, enough, in my opinion. And the shot selection that he is taking, it's always going into sticks. It's going into guys, feet or their shins or whatever. It's just his shot selection right now is just not the best. And I think he's trying to be either too fancy or he's just trying to be deceptive when he's at his best when he just shoots the puck. So, and release it a little bit quicker, please. And then second dud, Sam Bennett. I don't think I need to really say that, except he's a negative or ±9. I think he's a -8 right now. And then Sergei Bobrovsky, again, dude, just get over this one. We got the next one against the Vegas Golden Knights. Almost said Golden State. Let's stay away from the NBA right now. And it just reset. It's in one game. You can come back.
Yeah. And listen, the fact that it took us until game number 9 to put blame on the goaltending, when you zoom out with the season of where the Panthers are at 4-5-0, and the fact that the Panthers have allowed the goaltenders to see pucks well throughout, and Sergei Bobrovsky coming well on the especially on the PK early in the season, and even into 2 Daniil Tarasov starts. You can't put any of those games on him throughout the most recent road trip. I mean, I'm usually in most years we would actually have this conversation a little earlier. So maybe this is actually a very encouraging sign that this is just that this isn't gonna be something that happens often for the Panthers here.
No, I mean, Bob's usually a slow starter, and his stats may say that, but with his goals against and his save percentage, but he's been pretty good this season. Tarasov has been really good. I almost question if the Panthers should start Tarasov against the Golden Knights. I mean, I know it's the Stanley Cup rematch from 2 years ago, and Bob should be in net, but after a game like this, maybe it's time to rest Bob just a little bit. He's played 7 of the 9 games, and Tarasov has played wonderfully. I would actually get him a shot at net on Saturday and see what he can do. I think he can pull out a win for the Panthers.
You just made me pull up the schedule right now, and I think that the way the rotation is going to go is Saturday at Vegas. Daniil Tarasov probably gets that start against the Ducks, and it will give Bob a whole week off. So I think that with the stretch of the Panthers here, with no game on that Thursday and a little bit of a gap, I think that it's going to be, and Robbie Tallis is great at what he does. He has this down months before these starts actually happen, unless there's an injury situation. So I think that the Panthers are going to strategize it that way, but I'm just
good pickup.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I'm thinking of what the Panthers are going to do, because the Panthers don't have any back-to-backs in the whole month of November, and they have 3 in the month of December. So you got to put Tarasov in somewhere. And I think that on a Saturday late night Stanley Cup rematch, I don't think that Maurice, he's going to read the situation. Although regular season, what does it mean? At least you're not getting revenge for a regular season game, but I understand that you might want to put him between the pipes there. But let's get to our moment where we knew the game was lost for the Panthers here. And it was the doer goal, the one that made it 4-2, and I kind of hinted that in segment number 1 when I said that I stopped getting excited when the Panthers cut it to 1 after before the Marchand goal happened, because to do it consecutively and not allow anything after that was a hard ask on a night like tonight. So the Connor Dewar goal that the Penguins scored, that's my moment.
I can't disagree with that. I mean, that's a beer league. I can't even, it just rolled in. I mean, again, I make a baseball reference to it, but it's like the Bill Buckner mishap in the 80s, when he was with Boston. The ball just went right through his legs. But
Ooh.
yeah, that was just that was a game killer right there. I mean, if Bob would have at least made something like a save like that, I think Florida still maintains the momentum and they don't have to gut check another mishap that Bob had tonight.
His ground ball down the first base line. It gets by Buckner. The iconic call there. So good reference there. But yeah, a little bit of a mistake that Sergei Bobrovsky made, and it made the Panthers consistently play behind the 8 ball. But hey, the encouraging thing for the Panthers here is, once again, you look at the shot on goal differential, 13-8. 13-5 in period number 2, 18-4 for the Panthers in period number 3. And the Panthers, like I said, like I mentioned when we were discussing in our pre-production, when the Panthers had the extra attacker, I was just thinking, man, the Panthers are just not getting the second chance opportunities. And to think, even after all that it took a little bit of a long time to review who was actually going to be on the ice as well for the Penguins after that icing call. And the Panthers had a little bit of time to rest their legs as well, to plan something, to draw something up, to get put some pressure on Tristan Jarry there. But again, Tristan Jarry, an outstanding performance. The totals at 5-on-5, 62-37 and shot on goal, shot attempt, high danger chances, 11-5. So the chances were there, but again, defensively, goaltending, that's ultimately what cost the Panthers this game on Thursday night. And I was thinking to myself, even if the Panthers found a way to get it to overtime, or even get 1 point, or even get a overtime win, you're looking at how this could hurt in the tie-breaking scenarios for the Panthers as far as regulation overtime wins. I don't think I would have found a way, honestly, Nick, to spin this one positively with the amount of mistakes.
I mean, the only way you would be able to spin it is, we got away with that one. We'll take the 2 points.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's been the last couple of seasons where, some teams have come down to the wire, and if they would have just won one game, they would be in the playoffs, or they would be, in a different position in the playoffs. I mean, like the Pittsburgh Penguins a few years ago. I mean, Chicago beat them, and that was it for them. And that's one thing I'm a little concerned about right now, is that Florida usually would get this to overtime, at least get a point. The saying was, at least we got a point. But I think as of right now, the fact that they're losing in regulation and not extending the play into overtime right now, I hope it doesn't come back to bite them. But hey, you got to give it to the other teams. They're playing their best every night, and they're giving the Panthers everything that they can handle.
And especially now with Montreal and Detroit off to great starts, and us having faith, although Tampa's not doing so hot right now, we know that they're a sleeping giant that could wake up at any time. This isn't guaranteed for the Panthers, so there's got to be more of a sense of urgency, and that sense of urgency, although we saw it in the final 40, it's got to continue, as the Panthers will welcome the Vegas Golden Knights to town on Saturday night. And we are going to transition over to segment number 3, where we will discuss that and more here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. And The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. It makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So, what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today to get started. Segment number 3 here on this Friday, October 24th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. Armando Velez here with Nich Fairbanks on another edition of Fairbanks Friday. So the Panthers welcome the Vegas Golden Knights to town on Saturday night, a 2023 Stanley Cup final rematch, as it's pink at the rink night for the Florida Panthers, as far as honoring those breast cancer awareness. And also the Panthers are going to be doing a special Panthers on the Prowl, which is building those little Panther statues that are dedicated to cancer research. And I just heard today that our friend of the show, Big C's, will be involved in the activities going on Saturday. So big shout out to our friend Big C's here on the podcast here. But Panthers will be welcoming in the Golden Knights, which they got the big fish, the big free agent fish, but it wasn't really from the UFA market, as it was a sign and trade with the Toronto Maple Leafs, trading him to the Vegas Golden Knights in exchange for Nick Waugh. But they got the big fish. They were able to do it because of the fact that they put Alex Pietrangelo on LTIR, which he cannot return this season because he did sign that he will be on season-ending LTIR, that's new under this CBA. But here's the thing, Nick. The projection was that Mitch Marner was going to start with Jack Eichel on the line, but Bruce Cassidy has been mixing and matching the Marner being on the line with Jack Eichel and also being on that line with Tomas Hertl. So you're getting two lines of forwards who can play defense. And the fact that Jack Eichel is also getting in on the scoring, leads the league in points right now. And he's right now the front runner for the MVP. So although they don't have they don't have their top end defenseman in Pietrangelo for the season there, and right now Noah Hannafin is day to day, what they can do forward wise, it has to be possibly the best group in the entire NHL, and that's why them and Dallas are the favorites to come out of the Western Conference.
They definitely are. And I'll say this, I'm not scared of Marner. I don't think Panther fans should be. He is in a new environment, definitely less press to deal with, less pressure. But at the same time, I don't think a player is going to be any different. We saw the beautiful goal that he scored the other night against, I think it was Calgary, and he's not going to get that during the playoffs. So sorry to be negative about him, but it's just Marner to me is just he's an afterthought, when it comes to when Florida's going to play. You have to think about too that Mark Stone is out again. It seems like every season there's something wrong. He's a great player. Hope he gets healthy, but it's really getting to the point now where if he's having these amount of injuries, and it's just building up on him, you have to really start wondering how much longer he has, in his career, and how are they going to transition? The captaincy. What are they going to do? To fill his skates, so to say. And then you have Aiden Hill, who is also injured.
Yep.
So you have both teams that are beat up. They don't have, all their stars or all the players that make them who they are. But as you said, Vegas Golden Knights have a better lineup right now where they have forwards who are scoring and can play defense. So it's going to be up to Florida to not only play great defensive hockey, maybe shut them down or 10 or 15 minutes without a shot, hopefully. But at the same time, try to bury your chances, or at least, try to be smart about staying out of the box. And then secondly, just for the love of God, Sam Bennett, score, or Carter Verhaeghe, please score. Please.
Yeah, and also one person that they got to watch out for, Pavel Dorofeev. 35 goal
Yes.
scorer, what a guy that people don't talk about enough in this league, as far as like one of the elite goal scorers there, and he's off to a great start once again for the Golden Knights. I mean, that top line: Ivan Barbashev, Brandon Saad, Stanley Cup champion Brandon Saad, and Jack Eichel. There, that's a bruising top line for Vegas there, and also what Vegas has currently in goal, which Adin Hill is going to be out. We don't know if he's going to be returning for when the Panthers visit Vegas in a couple of weeks. But Mark Stone, being on LTIR, he's not eligible to come back until the Panthers visit Vegas, until after the Panthers visit Vegas. So they won't see him at all this season. And I just looked at the Vegas Golden Knights schedule. They haven't played since Monday. They actually gave Carolina their first loss of the year, which also shout out to the Hurricanes and Avalanche tonight. They're playing their uniforms tonight are Quebec Nordiques and Hartford Whalers, for that what that's worth. And they're going to do it again when the Avalanche visit Raleigh later in the year. But Vegas, they haven't played since Monday, so they have 4 days off, and they're going to be on a back-to-back Saturday and Sunday in Florida and then Tampa Bay. So it's going to be interesting how they deploy the goaltending with Akira Schmid, which we saw him in New Jersey for a couple of years, and Carl Lindbaum there. So it's going to be interesting how Bruce Cassidy puts the start, unless you're very confident that Adin Hill will come back soon, and that you could split the starts after that, and maybe they put Akira Schmid playing on the back-to-back. Vegas also doesn't have a back-to-back until after Thanksgiving on Black Friday and the day after. So they could possibly afford to put Akira Schmid between the pipes on both nights.
Yeah, and one thing I was thinking about is, when you have a goaltender that's not your number one and you're trying to protect him, what's the best thing you can do? Block shots, get your sticks in the passing lanes or even the shooting lanes. So I almost predict that Vegas defensively is going to get into the middle of the ice there, and they're going to take away any shot, and they're going to make sure they block shots down low, and there will be no second chances. So Florida's either got to outmatch them down low and win those battles, or they're going to have to be perfect with the shots that they take, or even get a deflection off of the Vegas defenseman. I mean, I don't care. Just you're going to have to will yourself to score against this team.
And right now their PK percentage is actually 23rd in the NHL. So that's going to be a big part of the game for the Panthers to at least try to get some goals and get those second chances, get into the dirty areas, score a greasy one. Because the Panthers, they're gonna need to do it as a team that has struggled to score all season. And once again, they scored 3 and it wasn't good enough to win. So if it wasn't one thing, it was the other, as we've seen throughout the 5 losses this season. So hopefully it results in a win for the Cats. But Nick, I want to thank you so much for joining me on another edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. A little bit of a programming note. We will be back with you guys on Tuesday. No show on Monday, as I will be going on a little bit of a vacation out of state. But we will watch the game on demand and then bring you a show on Tuesday before the Panthers welcome in the Ducks. But Nick, I want to thank you so much for joining me on another edition of the show. Tell everybody where they can follow you online, my friend.
Appreciate it again, everybody. If you would like, you can follow me on X at Prudentia0. So let's go Panthers.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nick. See you next week.
See you next week.
And if you like what you're hearing, please subscribe to the podcast to be notified every single time the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast jumps into your podcast feed. Don't forget to also subscribe to the other shows on the Locked On NHL network, including Locked On NHL, Locked On Fantasy Hockey, Flip Livingstone and Stu Roden, and Locked On NHL Prospects. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. So I'm Armando Velez with Nich Fairbanks. And you've been listening to Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We're your team every day.